Welcome. My name is David Earnshaw. I am the CEO of Burson-Marsteller in Brussels. It's fallen upon me to say welcome at the beginning of this event. I'm not going to talk for very long. Thank you for joining us today. I'm sure the discussion today is going to be lively and interesting. The focus of our discussion obviously is the Commission's recent proposal on transparency, on the transparency of non-financial and diversity information. Before we start, I'd like to thank in particular our partners at CSR Europe and the team at Burson-Marsteller Brussels that have helped to organise this event. I'd also like to thank in advance all of our speakers and, of course, you, the audience, for taking part in the debate. At Burson-Marsteller Brussels, we welcome the Commission's proposal on non-financial reporting. It will increase the transparency of companies, it will record and hopefully promote diversity, it will contribute to a stronger economy, and it will lead, hopefully, to a more modern economy and one which is less based on an old boys club style of management. Why do we care? And this is where I talk not as a company, where I talk as a company boss, as an employer and as a manager, not as a lobbyist or a public affairs person or a political communicator. But it's because of what we do that we care. Transparency has today got a very special place in our business. And today, transparency in my world is critically important. My business is controversial. It's under scrutiny. And it shouldn't be a surprise then that transparency is at the heart of what we believe in at Burson-Marsteller in Brussels. Transparency is today one of our 5 key values, along with honesty, integrity, excellence and confidentiality. As many of you will know, Burson-Marsteller was the first large public affairs agency to sign up to the Commission's Transparency Register. And we were the first to put our financial data on the register, as is now required. Only next week we'll be launching our most recent in a series of surveys about good public affairs. The results of that survey that we will launch next week show that transparency is still not sufficient, at least in the eyes of many policymakers. For decades, civil society has been trusted more than their corporate counterparts. We believe that to address that perception, companies need to communicate about their purpose and about the actions that they take to ensure that their business is sustainable and responsible. It's no use being an ostrich in the 21st century. There is still a lingering belief that articulating business interests is likely to be opaque, and it's also likely to be unethical. Another point that I'd like to make is that it's amazing how reluctant people are to be transparent until it's forced. And then it's amazing how once people are forced to be open, that they realise that the sky isn't going to fall in through being transparent. I employ 80 people in Brussels, and Burson-Marsteller employs 2,000 people across Europe. Well, obviously, we work on many controversial political issues. The thing that is important to our clients is our brand. And transparency today, I would hope, is an important part of the content of that brand. And hopefully our clients, our employees and our partners all appreciate that. Finally, diversity. If in my business we're all identical clones, then frankly the client is going to get a very strange kind of advice. Diversity is extremely important, and it is a good thing. And we need to recognise that, and we need to promote it. And again, this is part of being modern and part of building a modern economy in the 21st century. So, to conclude, I hope we'll have a very good debate today. I'm going to hand over now to Stefan. Thank you very much for coming, and I hope it will be a lively and interactive discussion. Thank you.
At the beginning, I would like to welcome especially people who will talk later from the IRC and GRI and the World Business Council to be here today at this meeting because I think from a practitioner's point of view, and CSR Europe is a practitioners network from a group of multinational companies, but also in each country in Europe with our national partners, representing people who have to do basically the work of reporting, and who have to do, I hope, not only reporting and enhance the transparency, as you mentioned earlier, but also enhance the performance and the triple bottom line performance of companies. So it's good that all these organizations are here and all stakeholders are here to discuss the proposal from the Commission. And special thank you, of course, also to Richard Howitt and Raffaele Baldassare to be here with us today for this discussion. Because in one morning, we think we have tried to bring together all different points of view on this proposal. The proposal that Commissioner Barnier made and last week at the GRI conference in Amsterdam, he called it a bold and balanced proposal, which was, I think, also a strong statement, I thought. And the interest shown by all speakers and by the different stakeholders coming here today shows that this proposal already is a genuine milestone, I think, in the sector of, or in the business of disclosure of non-financial performance. And your presence here today is a witness to that. And more than this proposal, 2013 seems to become a year where different initiatives converge related to reporting and transparency. And there is a Commission proposal. As mentioned, there was last week the important launch of the G4 guidelines from the GRI. And there you could witness in Amsterdam, I think, how global the reach of GRI is on this one and how lively the discussions around GRI are and the work being done. But also the IRC, the integrated reporting, is finalizing in a month from now, I think, or less, the 15th of July, a little bit more than a month, the consultation on the IRC framework, and also that will signify a next step in transparency and linking non-financial performance to market value and societal impact of companies. So 2013 is seems to be a very important year where all this converges. And as this slide shows, and I'm not going to go through it, most of you will know part of it, at CSR Europe we always looked at it, as I said in the beginning, from a practitioner's point of view, and promoted the active dialogue between the business practitioners, the policy people and the stakeholder. And in this sense, for us as CSR Europe, also this event this morning is a real milestone in an ongoing process that started already in 1999, and where we focus mainly on how does it also lead to better performance of companies. This is our kind of focal point in the work we do with CSR Europe. How can enhanced transparency also lead to enhanced performance? And that is also, this link between transparency and performance and reporting is also a key of the message, or one of the key message of a letter that CSR Europe is sending together with the GRI, together with IRC, and together with the World Business Council that we will send to the Commission in the coming days. To see also how we can support further, as networks of companies, as networks of stakeholders, how can we support companies further in adequate management processes to make sure management processes that are mature, that are integrated. And I will come back to that later today also. So as an introduction, I would like to stop here and I will hand over to Jim Curry, the chairman of Burson-Marsteller. On the agenda, you see there are three main parts. The first part, we will talk about, or we will hear about, what is the scope and the requirements of the legislative proposal. And we have Monsieur Millero from DG Market here, who will explain this, and then Raffaele Baldassare, Richard Howitt, and from MEPs, but also Victor Kier from the Danish government will talk about this. And then at around 10 o'clock, we will talk more about, hear the different voice of stakeholders in a session that Jan Notre Dame will moderate. And then in the last session, after the coffee break, we will look together with GRI, IIRC and the World Business Council on how can we work together to make sure that reporting and transparency also leads to more integrated performance and better non-financial disclosure. And then we will have a further discussion, and then this session will stop. So Jimmy, if I can invite you to host. Thank you very much.